Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. My name is Erica Demana. I am the Marketing Director for Aidite North America. With us today, we have Brett Hovis from Nowak, who is partnering with us on this webinar today. We thank Nowak for their partnership and support. We also have Thomas Husing, who is our General Manager at Aidite North America here. And Michael Wandling, who is our speaker today. So just a couple of housekeeping notes. If you guys have questions throughout the course of the webinar, please go ahead and type them into the Q&A. We will get to those at the end. This webinar is being recorded, so we will have the recording posted up to our YouTube channel once the webinar is over, and we'll also send out the link through email later on today. So with that, I will give it to Michael and we will get started.
Okay, well, thank you, Erica. Happy Friday to everyone out there. And I just wanted to say special thank you for joining me, taking the time to be with us today on this presentation. First off, just want to give a special thanks to Nowak Dental Supplies. They're a great organization. They are lab first, lab only, which is why I really appreciate them. Brett here is representing them. He'll talk towards the end. And we wouldn't be here at all without Aidite. So I just great company, great products. If you're not familiar with them, I highly recommend that you get familiar with them. They are trendsetters. They're the ones that are really pushing good things. Um, let's go ahead and get started here. So, some of you may know me, and some of you may not know me, but my name is Michael Wandling. I'm a master CDT. I've been in the industry now for 25 plus years, and it's hard to believe, but my loss of hair and grayness coming in shows that it's been that long. I'm currently the operations manager for Summit Horizon Dental Lab, so we're a small to mid-sized laboratory in the St. Louis metropolitan area. Uh, and I do a lot of work with the NADL and the NBC. So currently I'm on the NBC Board of Trustees. This year I'm the vice chair. Next year, so I'll move into the chair after that. But this being involved with the NADL and the NBC is something that I recommend if you have a desire to give back, have a desire to get involved and to make changes in the industry. That is the organization to get partnered with. So just great stuff with them. And then I was named the CDT of the year in 2025, so I was very honored and blessed for that award. But for the purpose of this, enough about me. The purpose of why we're here today is to talk about Aidite's product, the 3D Pro Zir Ultra. Okay, I have used probably 8 to 10 zirconias throughout my career, and this is the most impressive zirconia that I have ever used. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here on camera and here with you today, but it is super impressive. We're going to go through a lot of the reasons why it's impressive, and then in the end of the presentation, hopefully you guys see what I see in this product and give it a shot because you'll be very happy that you did. So I want to first of all kind of talk about just a few things. In our industry, there's a lot of pain points, and with pain points, there's got to be some transformation that kind of goes with it. So when it comes to high aesthetic products or high aesthetic expectations, all of our doctors, they want the best, and why wouldn't they? The patients want the best too. Um, if we're in their shoes, we want the best products out there. But sometimes with the higher aesthetic options, for those of you that are do a lot of fixed work, you know that there's always a trade-off because when it comes to higher aesthetic things, you might have to do a multi-layer build, or the firing cycle might be longer for those types of zirconia products. Um, so that's one of the pain points. The other thing is a lot of higher aesthetic or higher translucent zirconias struggle a little bit when it comes to trying to mask a dark preparation or maybe an implant abutment that's made out of titanium. That grayness a lot of times, or that maybe the dark browns, like you can see the patient with the darker teeth, a lot of times those stumps are very hard to mask and they're hard to cover up, especially with a higher translucent zirconia. And then just trying to also with bigger bridge spans, a lot of our higher aesthetic options are we struggle a lot of times with getting the bridge spans to be big enough and strong enough so that we can do the all on X cases, or we can do the roundhouse bridges, or even sometimes um, maybe a 4 unit bridge or 6 unit bridge. Sometimes there's a little bit of struggle with the higher translucent zirconias out there to maintain their stability. Talk about transformation. So one of the things that Aidite is really good about is they're not reactionary, they are on the offensive side of things. And I say that because with those pain points that we're just talking about, instead of just accepting that that's how it has to be, that, sorry, doctor, but that grayness is going to show through because the zirconia is just that translucent. They have gone to the table and working with their technology team, come up with a product that can not only address those pain points, but it can kind of cure those pain points. And those are really big things because when it comes to trying to mask a dark shade or trying to maybe get the product to the doctor faster because we don't have to do an overnight sintering on it, those are the things that a lot of laboratories or even zirconia companies just kind of accept that that's just how things have to be. When it comes to Aidite, though, what they've done is they've tried to solve the problem instead of just accepting the problem. So they've looked at their raw material that, for zirconia, and they said, how can we make this keep the aesthetics, but also um, make it just an overall stronger product? And can we even get this product out faster to our doctors and ultimately our patients? So they worked with their material team um, to try to help out with all those things. And in the end, what they're coming up with, or what they have come up with, is a product that not just focuses on aesthetics, but it's focusing on the speed and the strength. So this product here, the Ultra is, and I was just talking talking about this earlier today with a team member, that this is an all-round great product. So whether you're looking at a high-end aesthetic, or you're looking at something that's going to be strong, or you're looking at something that you can mill out and center quickly and get back to your doctor, possibly even that same day, which seems unheard of, but it's not with this product. This is just an amazing product, and I'm going to start to we're going to take a deeper dive now into this. So let's start with the aesthetics. So here's a good slogan here. Natural beauty begins beneath the surface. So when it comes to zirconia, there's so many different types out there, and over the years they've had, monochromatic or monolithic zirconia where it's all one shade all the way through, and then they came up with, a higher aesthetic zirconia, and then there's multi-layers, and there's all these different types of zirconias on the market, but ultimately, it's the makeup of the zirconia puck itself which makes the difference. And the 3D Pro Zir Ultra, the makeup of it is why it is a superior zirconia. So let's go into that a little bit. So just a couple things here. The gradient, so we're talking about the grade of it. You can see, and hopefully the picture shows on your end. I know sometimes when it comes to the webinars, sometimes the pictures get a little bit bleached out. So if you can't see everything in high detail, I apologize for that. But this is a not just a true multi-layer, but ultimately it's a multicolor. And the reason I say that is a lot of multi-layer zirconias, when they get milled out and sintered, the translucency is almost too, I would say maybe too long, or it's harder to. So for example, if you mill something out of an A4, the A4, the gingival part of the zirconia is an A4, but the middle to the incisal is light enough because it's translucent, but it's almost like an A2 sometimes, or an A3. And then you're having to try to mask that with different shades and maybe some blues or something like that to try to get everything to look good. But this zirconia, and I'm going to show you towards the end what kind of my experiment with this zirconia is, but this zirconia is the truest to a natural teeth that I have come across. What I really like about this too is the strength is the flexural strength or the megapascals are 1250. Okay, so if you're familiar with the Azir product from Aidite, it's as strong as that product as well. So that's the 1250 as well. And this is just when I was working with this, a lot of times with multi-layers, you struggle with the chipping sometimes, whether it's the milling machine that chips it, or even when you're working at it on the bench, it tends to chip, not with this product. So I talked about this just briefly, but this incisal zone on the zirconia for the Ultra is not quite as long as your traditional multi-layer zirconias are. And what that helps with is you don't have to try to mask things as much. Sometimes the patient might just have their incisal edge, just the, 1 or 2 millimeters is what you're concerned about. And that's what comes out on the Ultra. And I'll show you that here as we continue to move along. But this product gives us a lot better of a balance of natural shades than just for those technicians that are out there watching this webinar, you'll notice when it comes to a traditional multi-layer or a higher aesthetic zirconia, I think the zirconia manufacturers, a lot of times they put so much emphasis on it being translucent that it doesn't look natural. And so it becomes a struggle when you're at the bench and you're trying to match a shade maybe and the picture shows that this patient doesn't have such translucent that big of a translucent area. So then it becomes a struggle in trying to play the shade matching game. Um, the other thing is too, let's go on to the next. This picture here is kind of a shade comparison. So, currently at the lab that I'm at, we use the Pro Zir for our multi-layer or our higher aesthetic type zirconia. Like I was saying just a minute ago, with the Ultra, the translucent level is not quite as long. So this picture, they're all very, very light shades. And so it does become a little bit hard to see the differences. But when you have it in your hands and you mill out, so let's just say, for example, the puck that I used for my experiment was an A2, which most common shade, which is why that's good good that I got a hold of that one. But when you mill them out and you look at the Pro Zir versus the Ultra, or God forbid you use a different zirconia, a competitor maybe, or if you compare that to the Ultra, you're going to see the main difference is just that shade gradient. It just looks so spot on naturally. And if you're really trying to find a good zirconia that just matches the shade tab where you don't have to do anything, it just looks natural, this is the product, I'm telling you. Okay, so want to talk a little bit about this. Now, this is something that I am not super familiar with, but I am going to be purchasing this. So earlier in the presentation, I was talking about one of the pain points was trying to mask a darker shade, a darker stump, or maybe even a titanium abutment. So Aidite's also come up with the Biomic Color Opaque, which it comes in several different shades and colors. But essentially, if you can see the two implant crowns up on the screen, the one on the left side is before the Biomic Color Opaque was put in, and you can see the titanium abutment showing through the zirconia. The one on the right is after it's one has Biomic Color Opaque put in it prior to sintering, and it really masks that. So whether it's a darker stump or a darker titanium abutment, this is the solution to also help with that. Because why should a patient have to get an inferior product that's just maybe more monochromatic and not as translucent if we can avoid that by using this as a solution? Okay, so first part was aesthetics. We'll talk a little bit about the speed. Now, I haven't gone into that yet, but let's take a deeper dive. So the 3D Pro Zir Ultra, um, ultimately they have a 2 hour sintering time. Now, I will say that depending on what sintering oven you may have at your laboratory, will depend on exactly how fast your fast sintering time is. So the sintering ovens that I have at my laboratory are not the Aidite brand, but they do have Aidite programs already built into it, which is really nice. And with that program, for mine, it's a little bit closer to like a 3 to 3.5 hours, which is still pretty fast. But what they've decided to do is this 2 hour ultra fast sintering, it gives you as a laboratory so many options. So they talk about trying to find trying to reshape or get you to rethink of how you look at your business model. This is a product that can ultimately give you another option for your dentist that you could get crowns back within, if you get the scan from them in the morning, you could get it back to them by the afternoon, and it's legit. You really can. In years past, with most high aesthetic zirconias, they require a longer sintering time. Okay, so you might have one that 7 or 8 hours, or maybe even longer, depending on what brand of zirconia that you're using. But with this product, um, I'm going to show you because I did this test myself because I didn't think I've been down this road so many times where maybe a doctor calls and says, "Hey, we messed up the appointment and we really need this crown back. Is there any way possible we can get it, by tomorrow morning or whatever, or even later this afternoon?" And you shake your head, and I always know in the back of my mind that there was always the quick, fast centering option. But I rarely ever used it because the zirconia never looks right. It almost looks kind of opacious at best. And so I was always reluctant to fast center anything. And yet alone bridges. I mean, my goodness, that's a big no-no for us that are trying to get an aesthetic product out because you're like, it's just not going to look right. Um, those days are changing now, obviously, with this product. So we're going to go into this a little bit. So, staying with speed. If you look at the picture on the left, it talks about the grains that make up the majority of zirconia out there on the market today are coarser, they're larger. Sometimes it can trap in little pores. And if you think about it, when you try to fast center something, the that opaciousness or that lack of vitality is for these reasons. So your translucency is just way off. With the Ultra, what I love is you look at the picture on the right, the granules that make up this puck are so small and compacted that you don't have the problem when it comes to distortion, and you don't have the problem when it comes to a loss of translucency. That was always the reason I was so reluctant in the past to um, make speed sintering part of my process is because the products just weren't there. And with the Ultra, it is there now. So talking about some advantages to speed sintering or rapid sintering. Um, Now these numbers I will say were tested with the Aidite CSF 400 sintering furnace. So like I mentioned earlier, that depending on what brand of sintering oven that you have will determine just how quickly you can sinter your crowns. I mean, you're more than welcome to continue to sinter them overnight or in the evening, or if you do a morning sinter and an afternoon sinter, however you do it, the product turns out great. But if you're looking for that speed sintering option, you'll be a little bit longer than the 2 hours for most sintering ovens. That's why I'm really interested to see how this sintering furnace works because if it's able to knock it down that quickly, down to 2 hours or less, that's super impressive. And for fast sintering bridge work, 3 unit bridges, that's like I said, for those that are technicians and that they work with this stuff every day, these are unheard of numbers. So what I said before, talked about this a little bit, but if you are a business leader or a lab manager or an operations manager or even just somebody that loves dental technology, you can share this with your leaders at the lab. But in the past, kind of the workflow was always you get the case in, it gets checked in, you pull in the scan or you pour up the model, get it scanned in, you get it designed, you get it milled, then you center it, and usually, at least a lot of laboratories, they understand that their centering alone sometimes can add a whole day to the process because a lot of laboratories will decide to run their stuff at the end of the day. So when they come in the morning, the zirconia is ready to go, and then it can move on from there and get contoured and stained and glazed and final QC and packed up and all those kinds of things and delivered. So you're still talking about um, a few days at least. With this process, though, this gives an advantage to your laboratory that you didn't have before. I mean, with this fast centering of this product, You can, like I said, if you get something from a doctor that morning, you could turn it around quickly and even be delivering it that afternoon. And think about that. You can just the options that it gives you and your laboratory and the doctor and the patient. So ultimately, that's who we're working for and working with. So you can cut these things down so much to where it's just it's mind-boggling. Sorry, just keep thinking about it. I'm thinking about how I can utilize this in my lab. Okay, so the last part we'll focus on is going to be the strength. So ultimately, I brought this up before. If you're familiar with the Pro Zir in its current state, it has a flexural rating of 1050, but the Ultra is 1250. Now, I like this picture because um, it makes it look like Pro Zir is kind of like the little wimpy brother, maybe, but it's not a bigger puck. It's you can get it in the same size as everything else, but it's just showing you how much stronger it really is. 27% stronger is a huge deal, especially with the higher aesthetic or multi-layer type products. Um, Bridges, when it comes to centering of bridges, like I mentioned before, a lot of times laboratories struggle with trying to fast center bridges or even just centering bridges in general. There is a little bit of warpage that happens. So, depending on the mixture that they have, can determine, just how translucent it stays, just how strong it stays. Um, those are big, big deals. And it can get expensive because if you're having to constantly remake something or it doesn't fit or it's warped, now you're back and you're having to remill it again and recenter it again, and then you're praying that it works and hoping that it's going to turn out because it's due the next day. All those concerns and worries, you don't have to worry about that with this product because the way going way, way back into this presentation when I talked about they went to the table, they did. And this was one of the big things that they wanted to focus on was the strength of a high aesthetic option. Um, so you got the strength, but you got the stability all at the same time. And it just, I'm telling you guys, I'll talk about it again and again, but this product is very impressive. So I want to talk a little bit about my experience. So I put it to the test. I didn't want to just talk about the product, even though I took their word for it that it's a great product, but I wanted to test it out for myself. So these are the materials that I used in my little experiment or my experience with this. So I used the Easy Print model resin, almond color, and then the puck that you see there is the Ultra. It's an A2 shade, and then I used the Biomic glaze to glaze these units up. So here's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to really test this product, um, other than just doing a full roundhouse, what's a good way to test it? So, 85% of all dental restorations are, single unit posterior units. So, since that is still the bread and butter of our world, I wanted to get a model that I could mill out some posterior molars. So I did a single unit. And then I did for number 30, then I did 18, 19 side by side single units. And then I did a 6 unit anterior bridge, so 6 through 11. And then I wanted to also do a single anterior and an inlay onlay just to kind of take it through the whole gambit of, what we typically see on a regular basis. Okay, so this slide here, so what I did is I wanted to really test out the fast sintering of this zirconia. So the one on the left where it says normal, that was just on my standard, 8, 9 hour sintering program. Um, and the one on the right is my fast sintering program. Now, when it came out, I was expecting, and I'm just going to be honest here, I was expecting it to be opacious, not as vibrant, kind of the loss of vitality. But I was completely blown away that it is almost a spot on to whether you do a normal or a fast center cycle. They came out the same. Fit, the shade, everything. So then I glazed them. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see what they look like. Now, for the sake of this, I did not add any stain and I did not add any like blue or purple or any of that on the incisal areas or the cusp tip areas on any of these cases. I just wanted to see what the zirconia looked like naturally. So after it was sintered, then I went ahead and just put straight glaze on it. And I used the Biomic Glaze F for my glaze on these, and we'll take a look at them. So the ones on the left and the right, and again, pictures sometimes are hard to pick up, and I am not a photographer. I'm not a good a good photographer. I'm just a guy that took pictures. Um, so I don't. I probably could, somebody that really knows what they're doing with lighting and stuff could really make these things pop, but I did the best I could as an amateur photographer with my iPhone. That's what I have. So you can see here that on the left, that's the long centered crowns, and then the ones that say fast, obviously, are the ones that were the speed center. So from this picture, there's they're identical. Same thing here. So the one on the left, upper left corner. So for number 9, that's the Ultra on the left. The one on the right is the Pro Zir. So just your standard Pro Zir. And I did this with all of the cases or all these models because I really wanted to kind of see. So first thing I wanted to see was the long cycle versus the short cycle. Then I wanted to see the Pro Zir versus the Ultra. Um, and like I had mentioned before, if you look in at the Ultra, just that is just straight glaze on tooth number 9. I didn't add any blue to it onto the incisal edge. I didn't add anything to it, nothing at the gingival. It's just pure straight glaze, and that is it. One thing I did do, one of my daughters, I asked as I was taking pictures last night, I said, hey, can you take a look at these two models and tell me which ones look like the teeth are more natural? She just knows I work in the laboratory. She doesn't know anything about teeth or anything about aesthetics or anything about shade gradients or translucency or any of that kind of stuff. And on all three of these, she picked the ultras as being the more natural looking restoration. And I said, okay, you did a great job answering, and I said you answered exactly correct. She had no idea why I was asking her that, but I thought that was interesting, so I wanted to share that. And then this just kind of shows the bridge. So again, this is just taken from my iPhone, so you know, it is what it is, but I do think it's still captured enough to where you can see just how natural, just how good these bridges look. Now, I will say there's probably going to be somebody out there that's like going to pick apart the picture. If you look at 6 and 11. The margins are people will be like, well, why do those margins look short? That's because I milled this out of a 14 millimeter puck and it was a little bit too short. So I needed probably a 16, but 14 is what I had. So that's what I went with. But ultimately, the results just, I was blown away. I showed this to everybody at work yesterday, the comparison between the Pro Zir Ultra and the Pro Zir, and they are super excited to make the switch over. Okay, so September, or I put September 1st, maybe it's sometime else in September. Um, you probably are seeing a lot of marketing materials or a lot of social media things with the Ultra right now. And I will say that as of September, the Ultra is going to be replacing just the Pro Zir. So the Pro Zir Ultra is now the new Pro Zir. So in September, and maybe Brett can talk about this towards the end here, but it'll be a switch over. But here's the thing. There is absolutely, this is a no-brainer on the product. All they've done is enhanced the Pro Zir from a good product to an ultimately amazing product that there's no reason why you would want to stay with Pro Zir. If you have stronger, it's a stronger zirconia. It's a more aesthetic zirconia. If you can speed center it and offer that for your doctors, I mean, those are all wonderful things. And I do want to say, too, just the last thing for technicians out there, a lot of times with the higher aesthetic zirconias, um, there's chipping sometimes because it is not as strong. And with this product, when I was fitting them up to the margins, I had zero chipping. And I used both rubber wheel, I used greenstone, I used stuff on it, and it wasn't chipping on me. It just thinned out really nice. And it's just a great product. So um, I ask that you guys all give this a try, and you're going to be so happy that you did. So that's it for me. I first of all just want to thank everybody that attended this webinar. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to be here. And then just a special thanks to, Nowak Dental Supplies and to Aidite for sponsoring this webinar and give me this opportunity to share this product with you. So thank you very much. Okay, Erica, can you hear me?
Yep, thanks, Mike. That was awesome. We appreciate you sharing your experience with 3D Pro Ultra. If anybody has questions, please go ahead and type them into the Q&A box. At this time, we can do some Q&A. I don't think anything's come through yet, but while we're waiting for questions, I'd like to take this time to tell you all about our Aidite International Dentistry Cup. It is our annual global case competition. If you guys are interested, we welcome everybody to submit and register and join this competition. So submissions are due in October. You can scan this QR code here to enter and to get all of the details about the requirements. Some of the prizes include some money. We got like a $5,000 grand prize, and then the opportunity to travel to Cologne, Germany, for our award ceremony. So anybody can enter this. I really suggest you take a look, and we would love to see your cases, especially in the North America space. We'd love to see our side of the country represented in this competition. So go ahead and scan that QR code, and you can save that link. I don't have any questions coming through, Mike, so I'm going to pass it off to Brett. Thank you again, Brett and Nowak, for your partnership on this webinar, and we'll have you go ahead and talk about LabFest.
Yeah, thank you, Erica, and thank you, Michael. Appreciate the great information. And on Michael's point about inventory, I got confirmation earlier. We're placing our order with Aidite today, for our stocking order to have at our warehouse in Mississippi. So we should be right in line with that early September time frame. But I will tell you guys and ladies on the call, if there's we can get you samples of this product right now. Feel free to reach out to me or your Nowak rep that you work with, and we'll be happy to help facilitate that for you. Real quick, want to just touch on LabFest. I've been at Nowak now for 2 years, and one of the things that I love hearing Sean and Brandy Nowak talk about is that our laboratory customers, you guys and gals, are our shareholders. We put together LabFest, and our team has strictly as a show and an opportunity to gather and network, and for all of us to grow and to help your laboratory grow. So this year it's going to be held October 15th through the 17th at the Hilton New Orleans and Riverside. Feel free to scan the QR code here. There's everything is posted on the website, the NOLABfest.com. Thursday night, we're going to have a distillery tour at 7-3 Distillery. And then Friday night, we're going to have a Mardi Gras World, a masquerade theme ball. So it'll be great, not just networking and socialization, but then classes filled with incredible content from names like John Wilson and Bennett Napier and David Jackson, who's a lab owner in Tennessee. So again, these are your colleagues and your peers that we're trying to bring together, and then also bring some perspectives from outside the dental industry as well, to provide some insight and successes to help each of your businesses grow. And again, we appreciate the opportunity to grow with each and every one of you. So would love for you to sign up and get registered, get your hotel rooms booked, and look forward to seeing you in New Orleans in October.
Thanks, Brett. Yeah, we attended last year and it was truly a wonderful event. We're really looking forward to attending this year as well. And we hope to see you all there. But yeah, I don't have any questions coming through, Mike, so I think we'll end it here. Thank you all so much for joining. Like I said, this recording will be up later today, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
all again.
Thank you.